Welcome to Chai Chat with Lavina. We do take you to all sorts of strange locations, but this is wet but not strange. Beautiful indeed in Rutland, where Bird Fair is taking place. This is the biggest bird fair of the world, and it gives me a privilege, completely I'm privileged to be here. It's been going on for 27 years, and this is 28th, and UP government has taken part in this. So first, let me go to Tim, who is the man who has been organizing this for 27 years?
27, this is our 28th year, which is incredible. It's the world's largest wildlife event, and we're very proud to have over 78 probably countries represented here. But of course, having India here today is just wonderful, and we're delighted, particularly with the connection that this bird fair has with the Uttar Pradesh Bird Fair, which will be taking place again later this year.
Yes. Beautiful, that's fantastic. Now tell me, what is the kind of response you get, and what is the kind of market that exists, and what does it do for the environment?
You would not believe the marketing in Britain. I mean, our main society for birds, the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, has more than 1 million members. The Wildlife Trust that I work for has nearly 800,000 members, so there's a huge potential for people wanting to learn more about birds, wanting to buy binoculars, buy telescopes, outdoor clothing, umbrellas when it's raining in England, of course.
My camera has one, I don't.
And of course, what these people can do is support international bird conservation. And that's what's so exciting. Over the years we've been working with BirdLife International, we have given them and donated almost £4 million to projects from as far afield as South America, Asia, the South Pacific even, and of course Africa, Europe. And what that money has done, more often than not, is been used to seed other projects. So we believe that our 4 million has probably raised another maybe 35 to 40 million pounds extra for global conservation. So, and it's all done in a little field in Rutland, the smallest county in England. So we're so proud to host so many wonderful people. And over this weekend, maybe 25,000 people will flock from across the world to Rutland.
Flock to see the flock of birds, absolutely. But what was actually also amazing is that we have the Indian representative here. You're very used to this, Sam, aren't you, from Cambridge now? In Cambridge, yes. I am teaching business and strategy, and now selling Indian birds.
Wow, no. Selling Uttar Pradesh as a destination for bird watching, yes, and for birding and for creating enthusiasts across the state and then across the country in turn. And also using this as an opportunity, you know, thanks to Tim and the bird fair as a platform, yes, where we created the first bird fair in Uttar Pradesh under the directions of the Honorable Chief Minister last year, Akhilesh Yadavji, and he said, we want to grow it in size and scale and take it global. Yeah. So we came here looking at the way it is done, the way it's being organized, how different countries are getting involved, how corporates are getting involved, how students and volunteers are getting involved, and that's all a learning process for us. We want to learn from it and replicate this in the context of Uttar Pradesh, in India, and see how we can create a team of enthusiasts, a team of volunteers, a team of committed professionals, and government engagement with them, so that we can really work on bird conservation, and by that extension, by that logic, conservation of the environment and protect the earth that we have to live in.
Exactly, because birds do play a very important part in conserving the ecology of the world, and therefore they bringing into the environment is great. You're creating money to bring into the environment. Abhishek ji, there is a huge problem in India of poaching, of selling species that are not to be sold, and a lot of that happens in Lucknow as well. How do you manage to address that?
Well, I think the question that you've raised is a global concern. And I would not deny that, probably Tim would agree more, and, he's more competent to comment on that, that it's a problem for every part of the world. Right? Even when you land at London Heathrow, there's marks and signage saying birds and animals and others are not allowed to be brought in, and it's illegal and so on. Yes, Uttar Pradesh also has that issue. And, I would not isolate a city because it's endemic. We are actively working under the the Honorable Chief Minister. You know, the Chief Minister is a trained environmental scientist in that context. He's trained in Australia. He's very keen on the environmental side. He's very keen on wildlife side. There are already lots of laws and legislations there. What we have changed, I think, in the Samajwadi government is to make sure that they implement it rightly, in earnest, in the proper spirit. And I think that's what we need to do. And having learnt tools and technologies of what the world is doing, you know, for what they've done in Madagascar, what they've done in Indonesia, what they've done in different parts of the world, and we're trying to learn from those best practices. And believe you me, Uttar Pradesh will be the first state in India to implement those.
Oh, very good. Very well done. I come from Uttar Pradesh. My parents come from Uttar Pradesh. I'll be very happy, though I'm happy for India. But I'm going to come back to this, what you bring to the table and what you want to take from this table in a minute. So you can have a little think. But let me get to you, Jim, and tell me, how big is this problem across the world of poaching and of species, and how does it affect the environment? Give me one example that could hit the people.
I think the issue that's probably the one that we're most interested in focusing on is the fact that one of the most extraordinary phenomenons that India has had for many, many years is the vultures. There have been millions of vultures present in India, but something happened and they all started disappearing. And what we need to do is understand why that happened. And why that happened was because a drug was being used in livestock, in the farming practices. And it's vital that we control that. And BNHS in India identified this problem, Bombay Natural History Society, and we've been working to make this an illegal drug in veterinary practice across the world. There's still much to be done, but we've made some great successes, and I think there are other people here who are better able to speak about the work that's been done now. But this is part of the poisoning issue, and if we can focus in on that and take those threats away, we're going to be in a much stronger place to protect the natural biodiversity and the wonder of nature that should be there.
Yeah. Beautiful, scary, but beautiful. How are we saving the vulture?
I would not be competent to comment on that.
Yeah.
But yes, by spreading awareness, as you said, by banning the drug usage, which was actually also being used for human consumption, and so it was finding its way for the cattle, which were the vultures were feeding on. But yes, definitely we've seen a revival of the vultures in recent years. And in my role here as an ecotourism advisor to the government, I feel there's a tremendous potential for the state of Uttar Pradesh to promote bird watching tourism, create livelihoods, and in turn people become conscious about conservation. So there's a big linkage here.
What is the business? Because Uttar Pradesh is a beautiful state. I really, really feel, and you're from the tourism, I will get one question here from that side, that I have been to certain places in Uttar Pradesh and I feel, wow. I'm sorry, not a touch on UK on that point, because this is manicured and that is raw. And we have not really gone for it. What can bird watching do for tourism?
So we've
also talk about the Chambal Safari and the bird festival.
Yes, Chambal is also not known for just one thing. There is bird watching there as well.
Right, but that has changed. So over the years, in the last 20 years, I mean, Chambal has become a major hotspot for bird watching in the country. And most of the people traveling to India or North India now do go to Chambal for their good birding experience. And it has created, so just to take the Chambal example forward, because he's rightly said it was known for something else, and now it is known for bird watching. And there are so many local people who are training to be naturalists, people who are training to be boatmen, get involved in ecotourism activities, and huge livelihood generation is happening in that region, and that's wonderful.
Something I'd like to add, which is a legacy that Bird Fair has. Bird Fair brings together an enormous population of bird watchers, and Bird Fair brings together the industry of people who provide the equipment that bird watchers need in the field, whether that's optical equipment, clothing, and that melding together of the two is terrific. But there's a much bigger legacy from Bird Fair than that, and it's a focus on conservation. And I'm very proud that when we attended the first Uttar Pradesh Bird Festival, the Chief Minister and his team made a commitment to conservation from Uttar Pradesh as well. And there will be a new project that Uttar Pradesh is going to be supporting in the Chambal, which is focusing on a unique bird, an incredible bird from India called the Indian skimmer. And that conservation work that's now going to be supported by the government is going to lead to protection of the whole of this riverine environment where there are many other species there. Birds are not the only thing. The BirdLife International Partnership uses birds as flagships for all biodiversity. In the Chambal, there is the incredible gharial, a fish-eating crocodile, a critically endangered species. This will be protected through the birds. There's also the last Gangetic river dolphins there as well. An incredible spectacle to see this in this pristine environment, but under huge threat. And so the focus that the Uttar Pradesh Bird Festival will bring will cascade across birds, bird watchers, taking it to the population, and then benefit on to all the wildlife that is most threatened.
And of course local people as well and benefit from it.
The local people have to be conscious of their own environment, and you coming from Uttar Pradesh would realize that those kind of ethics did not exist to begin with. But now with ecotourism, birdwatching tourism, and livelihoods being created, people are becoming very, very conscious of their own environment, and that's leading to conservation.
Fantastic. Yes, go on.
We should not forget the young people.
Yes.
So Bird Fair today actually launched a really exciting new scheme, the Bird Fair BirdLife Young Conservationists Awards, in which they will give grants to young people. And it's very interesting because a similar grant has just been awarded to a young lady from India who will be leading a project to protect the Indian skimmer. So it shows how powerful the idea of the Bird Fair is, but also how the BirdLife network of 120 organizations links nationalities, links different organizations together.
This is a cross-border support network.
Exactly. I'd like to say
Birds
that,
conservation.
I mean, we're not talking about little money here. We're hoping to give £100,000 just for the leadership program. No, for the leadership program. So, you know, as well as the additional money we'll be giving the forest in Madagascar this year, you know, we need this 100,000, and we're convinced we are going to, and that will go to young people who will make decisions in the future about the environment in their own countries.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm going to come to the Bird Festival, but let me just get here and finish the two things that I want to. One, the attracting the young people, and what is the kind of growth or response you see in this market in India, because we have all sorts of other issues to deal with as well.
You see, ecotourism is an area which is gaining importance all over the country, but we in UP are very keen on increasing the visibility of the state, and for this purpose we have instituted the UP Bird Festival. We had experts from almost 15 countries who came to India, and it has opened up India to an absolutely new chapter of bird conservation. So Tim Appleton was there, Mr. Jim Lawrence was there. We have signed an MOU with the BirdLife International for conservation of birds. So now we are taking off into a totally different plane as far as the bird conservation is concerned.
Brilliant.
And we're supporting it as well. You want to mention that? You know, we're supporting, giving 10,000.
I'd also like to inform you that we are supporting the BirdLife International by giving some financial contribution also for the conservation of birds.
Okay, fantastic. Where do you come from, the conserving bird and seeing the problems? What problems do you see in the field and world of birds?
Well, one of the biggest problems and issues, and why UP in particular is so important, is the vulture issue. And my involvement is through coordination of the efforts and the very important progress in banning diclofenac that the Indian government has taken, but taking that forwards, and also that we have the Bombay Natural History Society has a vulture safe zone which is being carried out in collaboration with the UP government, and it's particularly important because there are two early stage release programs which we hope will really develop in the next year in Haryana, but also in southern Nepal.